Chapter 72. Our Sincerity. Others also looked at Mu Zicheng with joy shining in their eyes. Mu Zicheng lowered his eyes with a smile, hugged Wei Ran tightly in his arms, put his hand on her small face, and then announced to everyone this will be our home from now on. Everyone cheered. Zhang Nanfeng also yelled that he must have a good meal tonight, he Xinjia. The area of the main villa is quite large. It has 3 floors and 5 rooms. Each room has a bathroom and a terrace. They cleaned up the villa and arranged the furniture one by one. The daily facilities here are very complete. It is more convenient. It was already 2 hours after the items and furniture were arranged. They stood in the living room and looked at the furniture layout. It looked more like a Beijing villa. Wei Ran took out another robot that integrated sweeping and dragging and let it get familiar with the route here. Mu Zicheng asked Wu Bu, Ming and Zhang Nanfeng to drive around the island in an off-road vehicle, first to check the power grid situation, and then asked Yan Ying and Su Yi to chat with the plants. And Chen Wei was arranging his kitchen utensils in the kitchen so that dinner tonight can go smoothly. Although Xiao Li said that, he still had to go to inspect and grasp the specific situation. There is only one room on the 3rd floor, which is the room of Mu Zicheng and Wei Ran. She was standing on the terrace looking into the distance. With the breeze blowing near the summer afternoon, she could vaguely see a little sea view. Mu Zicheng walked behind her and hugged her, resting his thin chin on her slender shoulders. Wei Ran put his hand on his arm. "Brother, we have a family now." "The family," Wei Ran said, completely pleased Mu Zicheng. Mu Zicheng's face was full of tenderness, and his eyes were full of joy. "Well, we have a home. I have been to many places in the past 6 months, and I only stayed in each place for 3 days at most before leaving." He knew that although Wei Ran always said that the RV was home, she always wanted a place to settle down in her heart. No matter where you go in the future, there is still a place you can call home. The general situation is that, as Xiao Li said, the entire island is surrounded by a power grid, and the high voltage power remains intact, including our normal electricity consumption here. Gu Ming came back and told Mu Zicheng about the safety level of the island. "But just in case there is still a wall around the villa area, I will install the laser protection net later." Mu Zicheng nodded in agreement. Yan Yang then followed. "This island is very clean, there is nothing bad here. I have formed a contract with the plants on the entire island, and I will not let a single grass go. If it is maintained, it can also interact with plants, and any abnormalities can be found and controlled immediately." Wei Ran thought again that her black hollow door hadn't been installed yet, so she called Su Yi to dismantle the original iron door to see if it could be installed if it was not wide enough. Everyone happily drank a few more glasses at dinner at night. Wei Ran was a little bit drunk after returning to the room. Her face was flushed, and her eyes were blurred. She hugged Mu Zicheng softly and coquettishly. "Brother, I want to take a bath. I haven't taken a bath for a long time." Mu Zicheng said fondly, "Okay, then you let go of my brother first, so that he can take a bath. Go get you bath water." Wei Ran was a little naive and cute when he was drunk, and after hearing Mu Zicheng's words, he let go of Mu Zicheng like a baby. Mu Zicheng helped her back to the room and sat on the bed, then went to the bathroom and filled the bathtub that Wei Ran brought from Beijing with hot water, so that she could take a soak and feel more comfortable. Mu Zicheng carried her into the bathroom, undressed her and carried her into the bathtub again. Wei Ran sighed comfortably. Just as Mu Zicheng wanted to go out, Wei Ran pulled the corner of his clothes again, raised his head and pouted slightly, and looked at Mu Zicheng pitifully. "Brother, won't you wash with me?" There was a throbbing pain in his forehead. Originally, when he was taking off her clothes, he could hardly bear it when he saw her curvy body. He wanted to make her soak more comfortably, so he wanted to leave quickly. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out a sentence, "You are such an annoying little fairy." Then he took off his clothes 2 or 3 times, and his strong abdominal muscles and sexy mermaid lines appeared in Wei Ran's eyes. If Wei Ran used to be shy and avoided looking at her, but now she just stared at her in a daze, Mu Zicheng couldn't help herself, stepped into the bathtub and hugged her behind Wei Ran. Soon the bathroom began to lose the usual suppressed female moans. Mu Zicheng liked Wei Ran's lack of scruples when he was drunk, which aroused his possessiveness and became more possessive. The water in the bathtub overflowed to the ground, and the two sinking together had no time to take care of it. Next day. Mu Zicheng drove Wei Ran in a commercial vehicle to deliver research equipment to Shangguan. As soon as the researchers arrived yesterday, Shangguan sorted out the research room, which was in the core of the base. Research is extremely important for development and must be 100% protected. Shangguan was waiting at the entrance of the research area early on. Mu Zicheng drove the car in front of him, got out of the car and opened the trunk. It was full of equipment, and it was the most advanced. The leading researcher was stunned, and then said excitedly, "This is the equipment that we have always wanted to buy but could not buy. Its accuracy can even be close to 99%. Everyone was surprised. Shangguan thought Wei Ran was talking about ordinary equipment, but he didn't expect it to be such a previous equipment. Xiao Li didn't understand these places, but he was dumbfounded. "Where did you get this?" Wei Ran smiled and said, "You don't need to worry about it. If you need anything later, you can tell me." But the people in the research team were in trouble again, but there is still one important thing missing: egg fluid. I have been to the nests, but the ones I went to were no more than 100 small, and there were only a few eggs. In the case of lack of equipment, the amount extracted was also extremely small, and it has been used up until now. That's when they get stuck. Mu Zicheng opened the two big boxes, and said coldly, "This is full of egg liquid, which is enough for you." Especially Shangguan was also surprised at this time. "You really came here prepared." Wei Ran giggled. "My brother said, if you want to come, you have to come with all the gifts, and you must feel that you are worth the money. This is our sincerity." Shangguan looking at Mu Zicheng, he said sincerely, "Thank you." Mu Zicheng was still cold. "It's nothing to thank. We are waiting for an exchange, and we have got what we want." Shangguan nodded. Agreeing to Mu Zicheng's request was indeed the most correct decision, just like he had been reminded by Mu Zicheng to come to the southern base. Mu Zicheng's ability to stay in the base will be beneficial and harmless. Chapter 73. Together to encircle and suppress the zombies. Mu Zicheng told Shangguan that one of the dozens of people he brought was a professor from a well-known university in Beijing, who could help him sort out the line of education. After Shangguan heard about it, he hurriedly asked Xiao Li to settle him down. He had been worrying about this. There were also many students in the base who followed him when he came here. He wanted all the students in the base to continue to attend classes, but because there were no people in this area to form them, they had always been scattered. Brother Shangguan has managed this place in an orderly manner in only half a year. Wei Ran only knew about the development of the South Border base in her previous life, but she had never been here before, so she was not very clear about the internal situation here. Mu Zicheng drove the car with his left hand, while holding her hand with his right hand and rubbing it on his tight legs. Shangguan used to be a member of the senior management in the county department. This is not a big deal for him. What makes him difficult is just those literary and scientific matters. Just that you let him talk about some county affairs. He can talk eloquently unceasingly, but it is difficult for him if it is not within his field. When they returned to the villa wall on Yaihe Island, they saw at a glance that the black hollow iron gate had been installed, and it still opened automatically as before. Zhang Nanfeng looked at the hollow iron gate and stroked his chin, not to mention, after installing this iron gate, it really looks like Beijing. Wei Ran said triumphantly, "Of course I said I would. If you walk with this door, you can't take advantage of others." Chen Wei and the others gave her a thumbs up in a row. After half a month of such leisurely days, the southern border base received a message from the Jicheng base to jointly encircle and suppress zombies. As one of the big bases, the southern border base has no reason to refuse this kind of joint invitation to encircle and suppress. The southern border has also proposed joint cooperation in the past. Shangguan did have the idea to kill the zombies first. Mu Zicheng and the others were discussing in the living room of the villa whether they should go out for a few days and look around to see if there are any supplies that can be collected, so as not to be here all the time and make people suspicious. While everyone was talking about where they were going, Mu Zicheng's eyes slowly turned to the French window. At this moment, Yan Yang looked at Mu Zicheng and said, "Someone is here." 10 minutes later, Shang Guanling arrived at the Yuki Island villa. Chen Wei opened the hollow iron gate and waited at the entrance of the villa. After Shang Guanling got out of the car, he took a few glances at the hollow iron gate. He thought it looked familiar, but he didn't take it seriously. After all, who would have thought that someone would carry a big iron gate around? He walked up to Chen Wei, frowned and asked, "You know I'm coming." Standing here, Chen Wei obviously knew about it early in the morning. Chen Wei didn't hide anything, and smiled. "We all know whoever steps into Ye Highland. If it's someone with malicious intentions, he won't be able to get here." Only then did Shang Guanling think of Bai Xinji say they have a plant control power. Shang Guanling nodded, just like when he was at the gate of the villa in Beijing. "I'm looking for Mu Zicheng at this." For a moment, Shang Guanling looked around in the living room and said, "The installation here is pretty good." Then he sat down. On the luxurious dark blue leather sofa that he sat on at the beginning, Chen Wei still presented him with a cup of antique Qing dynasty teacup. But he didn't pay much attention, because when he went in, Guiying and the others didn't pay attention to what Mu Zicheng's furniture looked like before. But Shang Guanling was only impressed with this antique teacup from the Qing dynasty, because it was the first time he saw someone casually using an antique for daily use. He stretched out his hand to pick up the teacup, looked at it for a while, then picked up the tea cover and gently pushed the tea foam away, and took a sip. This time it's the top quality Da Hong Pao, an extremely rare tea. Mu Zicheng Juni said coldly and indifferently, "It is natural to treat distinguished guests with sincerity." Xiao Li behind Shang Guanling felt that this scene was like the scene when he went to Beijing. The scene at the city villa seemed to be staged again. Shang Guanling's family background was one of the best in Beijing. Xiao Li followed him every day, and naturally saw many vulgar people in copper coins. Xiao Li remembered this teacup not because he knew it was an antique, but because it was the first time he saw someone serving tea with such elegance. It was very novel. Xiao Li subconsciously said, "Didn't you bring all the teacups for tea in Beijing?" Wei Ran's eyes flashed a sly light, and he replied vaguely, "Isn't this prepared for your colonel? Not everyone is treated like this." Xiao Li immediately became arrogant when he heard this sentence, that is, Miss Wei is the most transparent. Shang Guanling directly stated the purpose of this visit without nonsense. Zhuzhong base sent out a message saying that we will encircle and suppress zombies together, saying that it is for everyone's development needs, and aliens and zombies cannot exist at the same time. Wei Ran thought that it was time for all bases to join forces to encircle and suppress zombies, and launched the Zhuzhong base of the Joint Information is the base that Chang Shuxian relocated and established. In the previous life, most of the zombies were encircled and suppressed at the beginning, but Chang Shuxian's purpose was to weaken the strength of each base to achieve annexation, and the last large lair with more than 1,000 aliens was his ultimate goal. All the bases will encounter heavy losses here, and those who went there will not be able to get out. However, the Zhuzhong base only used the sacrifice of some low-level supernatural beings in exchange for the annexation plan, and it was able to grow. Mu Zicheng opened his eyes to reveal his dark and cold eyes and directly express Shang Guanling's thoughts. "You want to go, but you can't." Shang Guanling paused, then nodded. If he took people there by himself, he would have to leave the base for more than 2 months, but there are still many things in the base that need to be decided by himself here. Recently, a research team based on the rare detoxifying herbs provided by Wei Ran to create a medicine to decontaminate the soil is also on the way to a breakthrough. Shang Guanling frowned and said, "Originally they can go to this kind of mission by themselves, but this time I would like to ask you to help me lead the team. You really told me because of your intuition that Chang Shuxian's ambition is not small. The purpose of this time, it's not easy." Wei Ran knew that Shang Guanling was a strong man, and if it wasn't for him, he really had no choice but to ask others. Mu Zicheng's eyes were indifferent, and he opened his mouth slowly. "If I say that all the people you go this time will be wiped out, will you still go?" Shangguan Ling's face was serious. This is the blood of a county person, and you can't be scared because of fear. Back off, but I don't want them to make unnecessary sacrifices. Mu Zicheng turned his eyes slightly, pondered for a while and said, yes, but your people must listen to me. Mu Zicheng has always made decisive decisions in matters. Only if he wants to go, not whether he can go. He admired Shangguan Ling's behavior. He would not stick to the rules, and he sincerely made arrangements for the people under him. Anyway, they all want to go out for a stroll, and it doesn't matter where they go nowadays. These big guys want to make a move every once in a while. What's more, for Cheng Shuxian, he didn't play enough last time, but he can continue to play this time. Shangguan Ling was relieved after hearing Muzi's promise. Then he said solemnly, in this operation, if anyone does not obey your command, they will be punished on the spot. Chapter 74. Woke you up. 5 days later. The Zicheng base originally asked the people from each base to gather at him 3 days ago. But Mu Zicheng, Wei Ran and his party were unwilling to go to his place, so they delayed their departure for 2 days. Shangguan Ling asked Mu Zicheng's opinion on how many people would be appropriate to bring along, and Mu Zicheng said that 10 people with 60th level abilities would be enough. In Shangguan Ling's place, the requirements for physical fitness are very high. In addition to being well-trained and often going out to do missions before, his own ability level is higher than ordinary ones outside. Now it is added that the egg liquid used for research and development is purified and then strictly used to assist drug dilution, and it is also harmless to the human body. Shangguan Ling officially named it the supernatural growth liquid. After entering the human body, this kind of supernatural growth liquid is several times more effective than direct injection of untreated egg liquid. Mu Zicheng and Gu Ming had read the planned location sent by the Zicheng base and carefully studied the route on the satellite map. Although the road is not a broad road, it is also a flat road, even if it is a bumpy mountain road sometimes. So on the basis of this roadbed, they still drove the Element Palazzo caravan, making themselves comfortable first. At this time they are waiting to start in the playground of the base. Mu Zicheng and Gu Ming were sitting beside the RV and were talking about this operation when a man and a woman walked towards them. One was a county magistrate whom she met before entering Huaxia Hospital, and the other was Bai Xinzi. Although Shangguan Ling and the others are no longer from the county, some body movements have been deeply rooted in their bones. For example, the county magistrate straightened his body and paid a county salute to Mu Zicheng, and said clearly, Mr. Mu, report to Xiao Dongyang. Mu Zicheng glanced at him and nodded indifferently. Bai Xinzi next to her smiled gracefully, Mr. Mu, I will go on a mission with you this time. Since At this moment, a middle-aged woman's voice came from the other side. Bai Xinzi took 2 steps over there, and the middle-aged woman came to Bai Xinzi and eagerly took her hand. Xinzi, why are you following? It's too dangerous, and your father still wants to hide it from you. Watch me. Watch me. Bai Xinzi comforted her mother. Mom, it's okay, it's right to do something for the base. I still have supernatural powers, don't worry. Bai Xinzi's mother knew that she couldn't talk to her, so she turned to boss her around, facing Xiao Dongyang. You protect my Xinzi for me, or I will ask your chief to take care of you. Although Xiao Dongyang was unhappy in his heart, he still responded with a county salute. She just felt that this was not enough, and pointed at Mu Zicheng arrogantly, and you must put my daughter first. Do you hear me? Mu Zicheng slowly raised his cold eyes. His face was gloomy, and his eyes turned cold towards her. Now the faces of Gu Ming and the others were wonderful. They had never seen anyone who dared to point their fingers directly at Mu Zicheng like this. There is no such thing as respecting the old and loving the young in Mu Zicheng. Xiao Dongyang already knew Mu Zicheng's great ability in Huaxia Hospital, and he was afraid that this situation would become overwhelming. After all, he remembered Shangguan Ling saying that whoever dares to admire Zicheng will be shot to death. Just as he took a step, Bai Xinzi's face changed because of her mother's fright, and she quickly tore off her mother's hand. Mom, this is our commander. Brother, where did you come from? The dog is barking, it's too noisy. Wei Ran lazily leaned against the car door. At this moment, Mu Zicheng's eyes showed a bit of annoyance, and he walked over and frowned softly. Are you woken up? Wei Ran didn't sleep well last night, and finally fell asleep in the second half of the night. This morning, Mu Zicheng couldn't bear to wake her up, so he was wrapped in a quilt and carried directly into the car. It was because they were afraid of disturbing her that they discussed matters outside. It's good now. Mu Zicheng was so careful, she was woken up in the end. Wei Ran nodded with displeasure. Mu Zicheng coaxed softly, are you still sleeping? Or do you want to have breakfast first? Wei Ran pouted slightly and pulled at the corner of Mu Zicheng's clothes, obviously not getting enough sleep. I still want to sleep. Without saying a word, Mu Zicheng left everyone behind and took Wei Ran into the innermost room of the caravan, leaving only his cooing voice at the end. Okay. My brother will sleep with you. Jealousy flashed across Bai Xinzi's eyes. Xiao Dongyang heard sleep with you, and saw that the preparations of all the staff were almost ready, so he asked Su Yi, who was closest to him, the departure time is coming soon, Mr. Mu. Su Yi smiled, I could have left on time now. He glanced at Bai Xinzi and her mother, and continued, I don't know now. After hearing this, Bai Xinzi's mother immediately yelled again, what do you mean? That's how it is for Commander. Mom. What are you arguing about? Shangguan Ling's majestic voice interrupted Bai Xinzi and her mother. Shangguan Ling kept his word in the base, and he was frightened by not getting angry, and Bai Xinzi's mother didn't dare to say anything. He looked at Xiao Dongyang, what's going on? Xiao Dongyang saluted the county salute, but he didn't know how to report it clearly, and his head was dizzy for a while. Report to the chief, this Damar. Mu. Let me tell you, let's go. Chen Wei stood up, smiling, but his words were not very kind. Someone disturbed us, and we are not feeling well now, so when we feel comfortable we can leave. Shangguan Ling frowned. Mu Zicheng was not a person who would delay things at will. He had heard of Bai Xin's mother being domineering, and he could probably guess the general idea after hearing what Chen Wei said and looking at the scene. Shangguan Ling's eyes were stern, and she looked at Bai Xinzi. When you come back, give me a self-examination report to explain why your mother showed up, and you will be punished when you come back. Bai Xinzi could only bite the bullet and retaliate after a county salute. He replied, yes, chief. He glanced at the caravan, and then turned to Xiao Dongyang in a more relaxed tone. There are all of them. Stay where you are and wait for Mu Zicheng's instructions. He will leave as soon as he says, time to go. After speaking, he turned and left without waiting for an answer. At this moment, Bai Xinzi's face turns pale and turns green. It is true that she deliberately disclosed to her mother that she was following the siege of zombies. The original intention was to let Mu Zicheng know that she had a status in the base, but in the end she was made into this by her mother. Bai Xinzi's mother was dissatisfied with this treatment and wanted to say something, but was dragged aside by the annoyed Bai Xinzi, covering her mouth. Jiang Nanfeng stroked his chin. This Shangguan Ling is pretty good at doing things, not bad. Chen Wei looked at the back of Shangguan Ling, who had walked out of the distance, and said, he understands the current situation. We turned out leading the team. There will definitely be many people who will not accept. If Brother Cheng can be pointed at disrespect by a middle-aged woman today, tomorrow there will be other soldiers outside who will not accept Brother Cheng. He is using this incident to warn again. Everyone, from now on Brother Cheng is the most important thing. By the time everyone was ready to leave, it was already 2 hours later. Chapter 75. How many weapons do we have? Although the number of zombies dropped sharply after the arrival of the aliens, some cities were still flooded with zombies. The first encirclement and suppression site set by Jichong Base is the entire area of Lan City. It takes 2 days to start from the southern border base to Lanzhou. It would take 5 days at Jichong Base, so Mu Zicheng delayed his departure for 2 days. People in the southern base actually don't need to go out of the desert, because there is an exclusive and secret underground tunnel directly to the desert, and the time is greatly shortened to 3 hours. The people inside the gate of the base above can come in and out at any time as long as they have registered. The underground secret tunnel can only be unlocked and exited by the core leader's face and eye mask recognition. This tunnel was prepared for war at that time. 3 days after Shengguan Ling came here from Mu Zicheng, he had entered the identification and unlocking for each of the 7 of them, because corresponding to their sincerity, this was Shengguan Ling's corresponding sincerity of trust. Xiao Dongyang is driving a heavy-duty special-grade armored off-road vehicle. This vehicle is a special vehicle for the county. It has a machine gun weapon tower on the roof and is extremely defensive. It can not only withstand bullets and even rocket attacks but also holds 10 people. It was just to load supplies, so I drove 2 heavy-duty special armored vehicles. An armored off-road vehicle opened the way in front and another at the rear. These 2 armored vehicles protected the RV of Mu Zicheng and his party in the middle. Chen Wei looked at Shengguan Ling's armored vehicle and couldn't help sighing. The southern border base is a county base after all, and the equipment is top-notch. Gu Ming looked at the satellite map without raising his head and said, "This is the county team's most important military base elite equipment, a specially made armored vehicle with a comprehensive body, can't be stabbed by a knife, can't be broken by a gun, and can't be shattered by a bomb." The excellent equipment in the southern border base is recognized because the fundamental reason is that it was the weapon and ammunition depot of Huaguo before. Manufacturing plant. Therefore, at the beginning of the end of the world, although a small number of Changshexian's people were smuggled out of the southern border base, the number was quite considerable. Wei Ran, who had just woken up, was eating breakfast, her eyes vaguely looking at the big guy in front of her through the front driver's window. "It looks really powerful." Gu Ming snorted, his expressionless face turned to look at Wei Ran and said, "As if it was a trivial matter, you have a lot of it, such as tanks and fighter jets. It's still pediatrics, and there are countless types of missiles that are powerful." Wei Ran opened her eyes wide. Chen Wei and the others gasped. "They actually have so many advanced weapons." Gu Ming handled the weapons by himself before, and no one except Mu Zicheng knew what weapons Wei Ran had, not even Wei Ran himself. Seeing Wei Ran's bewildered face, Yan Yang asked in surprise, "You don't even know Xiao Ran?" Wei Ran blinked her eyes bitterly. "I don't know, I just collected them at the beginning, so I don't know what weapons are there. Besides, I don't know these weapons." "Then, what weapons do we have?" Gu Ming thought for a while and could only answer her in a cool sentence, "Except for the aircraft carrier, I can't handle those." Ran and the others were shocked. Seeing her caught off guard, Mu Zicheng raised the corners of his mouth and pinched her delicate face casually. 2 days later in the evening, Mu Zicheng and his party arrived at the designated place in Dalian City. People from Zhejiang base and other bases also arrived not long ago. When Mu Zicheng and the others arrived, all the people in the base looked at their car with red eyes. Especially the people in the Zhejiang base, what they thought in their hearts was that these equipment could have belonged to them. Xiao Dongyang first found an open place, and then trotted to report to Mu Zicheng, "Mr. Mu, there is an open space in front of us that is suitable for our camp, please instruct." Shengguan Ling told him when he came here that Mu Zicheng didn't like to be with people from other bases, had too much contact, especially Zhejiang base. So he added this open space has a certain distance from other bases, so it won't be disturbed. Mu Zicheng looked at the open space that Xiao Dongyang mentioned, because there was grass and there was a small forest behind it. However, people from other bases are reluctant to choose this place, because there are especially many mosquitoes. But this is the best for Mu Zicheng and the others. He nodded slightly to Xiao Dongyang in agreement. Mu Zicheng and the others didn't need to set up camp. They just drove the RV to the open space and set up a folding table and chairs. Xiao Dongyang and Bai Xinzi commanded the 2 of them to form a battalion, set up tents, and prepare for the night. Because Bai Xinzi is a woman, she made a tent by herself, and specially chose a place closest to the RV. Seeing this, Xiao Dongyang guessed her thoughts. Mu Zicheng didn't like to be in contact with others, so he deliberately told everyone not to approach Mu Zicheng's car to avoid noise and separate Bai Xinzi, but was interrupted by Chen Wei. "You guys are too far away. Come, get closer to 10 meters. Xiao Donyang thought that Chen Wei said that the distance was too far and he couldn't protect Mu Zicheng well. He saw that the distance was indeed a bit far, and it would be difficult to react immediately if there was any emergency. Then he said apologetically, "It's because I didn't think carefully. This distance exceeds the protection range. I will arrange them to be closer to the center now." No. Hey, forget it, you will find out tonight. Xiao Donyang's food is similar to self-heating rice. To ensure safety, it is uniformly self-made. After pouring cold water, it will be automatically heated and cooked quickly. There are rice, noodles, porridge, and compressed dry food. Xiao Donyang was just about to bring 2 people to ask Mu Zicheng what kind of food he wanted to eat, when he saw Jiang Nanfeng and Su Yu coming over with a big bag of food. Jiang Nanfeng walked in front of Xiao Donyang with a smile on his face. "You guys should have pots or something." When Xiao Donyang was asked by him, he subconsciously nodded in response, yes. When going out for long-term missions, you must bring self-heating food, as well as field cooking utensils. If you go into the forest, you will hunt animals appropriately to supplement nutrition. Su Yi handed the big bag of things in his hand to Xiao Donyang. Our brother Cheng said that everyone has been traveling hard these 2 days, and these 2 turkeys are for everyone to add to the meal. You can do whatever you want, and the ingredients are also in it. There are a few solar lights which can be used when you turn them on. You can put them on the front of the car to bask in the sun during the day, and you can use them at night. Jiang Nanfeng also handed him another small bag. This is a medicinal herb to repel mosquitoes. Has been divided into a small bag for each person. Let them take it with them, and leave. Xiao Donyang took it in a daze. It's not his fault for reacting like this, because he always, when performing missions, edible game can only be found in deep mountains and old forests. Also, he was taken care of by someone when he was on a mission for the first time. He was surprised and took it for a while before he recovered and wanted to respond, but Su Yiyai and Jiang Nanfeng had already walked away. When he was distributing the mosquito-repelling medicine packs, Bai Xinzi asked Xiao Donyang in surprise after getting them, "Where did you get it from, Commander Mu?" Xiao Donyang divided the rest of the medicine packs in his hand and replied, yes. I brought it here just now and said I don't want to leave my body." Holding the medicine bag, Bai Xinzi immediately became elated. She remembered that when he went to the southern border, Mu Zicheng had never acted like this, but now he brought meat and mosquito-repellent medicine packs. "And here are all old men. Could this medicine bag come for me?" Bai Xin's brain made up for this, but she didn't know that it was prepared by Wei Ran for these bloody county people, and it had nothing to do with her at all. Chapter 76. In the north of Land City. The dinner in the southern base is full of fragrance and bright as day, making other bases that can only eat bread and steamed buns feel like gods and humans. Although there are only 6 bases in this joint encirclement and suppression campaign, these 6 bases are all relatively large bases. Of course, the largest base ranking in this world is the southern border base, and then to the Zicheng base. After dinner, someone from the Zicheng base informed them to go to a large open space in the middle to discuss the allocation of locations for the encirclement tomorrow. When Mu Zicheng and his party showed up, people from other bases had already arrived. People from each base didn't even bring all their supplies with them when they went out, and they didn't bring any stools. They were all sitting on the dusty ground. Moreover, behind the leaders of the base are also a large group of people sitting in the dark, as if they want to carve up the territory, but the southern base is pitifully few. Mu Zicheng led a group of people to appear in the middle of the large open space with a cold face while everyone looked up and embraced Wei Ran. There was still a fire among them. Xiao Donyang followed behind. Just as he was about to sit down cross-legged, he saw Jiang Yanfeng take out a folding stool with a faint light of fire. Taking out the folding stool, Mu Zicheng sat down gracefully. Jiang Nanfeng stuffed another foldable stool into his hand. "Come on, I'll take it for you too." Everyone was still looking up. Because the siege took a long time this time, everyone the bases all send more than dozens of people, only the southern border base has less than 20 people. The leader of one of the bases has been upset with the southern border base for a long time, and he is even more annoyed tonight. This time, relying on his large number of people, He provocatively shouted, "It seems that the southern border base looks down on US people. Let alone the number of people sent by each base. The leaders have already come out." Su Yi glanced at the manager Huang, who was sitting underground at Zicheng base, sneered, raised his jaw and pointed down there. "I don't think so. Isn't the leader of Zicheng base not here?" Now all the people in the base puzzled. He turned to Zicheng base. "That's right, why didn't your leaders come here?" Manager Huang looked at Su Yi with a sullen face. "Don't you know why our leader didn't come?" Su Yi pretended to be stupid and said in a daze, "How do I know? I'm not from Zicheng base." Yu Huang, the manager, wanted to scold her, but he swallowed it hard. He must not let others know that Cheng Shuxian was injured and is still recuperating. He closed his eyes and breathed a sigh of relief, and after a while he spoke again. "Everyone, my family's leader is inconvenient to travel because he was injured a little while performing a mission not long ago, so this joint encirclement and suppression operation, I will come as the leader's deputy, lead the team to execute instead of the leader." Director Huang's words brought the focus to Mu Zicheng's side again, and all the people in the base swiped and looked at the southern border base. The leaders of the Zicheng base were injured and couldn't come out, but those who were equivalent to deputy positions came out. "But what happened to the leaders of your southern border base? You have sent people with no positions to come out now." Now everyone was silent, waiting for Mu Zicheng to speak. Mu Zicheng's face was calm, honest and simple, and said in a low voice, "Sheng Wanling has too many things to do, so I can't come." These words caused the major bases to explode. He slowly opened his eyelids to reveal his indifferent black eyes, and looked coldly around. "What? The leader needs to come out in this situation? How bad is the current Mo base?" The leaders of other bases were so angry that they were vomiting blood. "What do you mean? Mean? Who is this guy at the southern border base? He's so arrogant at only level 50. That's right, only one of the people in front of me is level 60. Director Huang of the Zicheng base was now acting as a peacemaker, shaking his hands and said hypocritically, "Everyone, this time the joint operation issued by the Zicheng base, it is the best response for each base to send people out. I think the southern border base can send this person. There is probably something special about it." A leader of the base said in a dark voice. "Then, since the southern border base sent this unknown person, it would be like Huang. What the manager said is outstanding. The southern border base ranks as the boss here, so we have to set an example this time. I suggest that the northern part of Lanchi be reserved for the southern border. The northern part of Lanchi is the place with the most zombies and the most in area. Any base wants to minimize their own losses, so they are unwilling to go to the north, so they will gather tonight to discuss who is responsible for the north." As soon as the leader's words came out, people in other bases agreed. Director Huang of Zicheng base looked at Mu Zicheng with a sneer. Although level 60 is a high level now, but there are only 10 of them, while there are thousands of funerals in the north, and the few can't beat the crowd. While all the people in the base were waiting for Mu Zicheng's response, they saw him slowly getting up at this moment. Wei Ran, who was beside him, also got up and folded her and Mu Zicheng's stools. Mu Zicheng took the stool over, wrapped his arms around Wei Ran's slender shoulders, turned and walked away. Chen Wei and the others followed behind Mu Zicheng, with folding stools in their hands. Now the people in the other bases stood up, and one of the bases shouted, "Hey, why did you leave before we reached a conclusion? The base from the county is afraid of the north, right?" Mu Zicheng stopped in his tracks. The slender and tall figure faintly exuded a suffocating and powerful aura in the firelight, suppressing everyone in the major bases. He tilted his head back slightly, and sneered coldly, "If you don't dare to go to the north, just say you don't dare to go. The southern border base can help you take over the most difficult suppression." Now the people in all the bases breathed a sigh of relief, in order to get rid of this hot potato. But Mu Zicheng turned around and looked coldly. All the materials found in the north must belong to the south. Then he walked out of the firelight with Wei Ran in his arms, and disappeared into the darkness. After Mu Zicheng and his party returned to the RV, Wei Ran and Yan got into the RV to take a shower first. a few big men were sitting outside on the floral tablecloth eating the fruit plate cut out by Gu Ming. At this time, Xiao Dongyang came over and asked Mu Zicheng, Mr. Mu, how many people are suitable for tonight's night watch? Normally Xiao Dongyang would arrange it by himself, but this time it was Mu Zicheng whom Shengguan Ling valued. And it's the first time to go on a mission with him, so ask about everything to show respect. Jiang Nanfeng Li came to his senses and kicked Yu Ming, who was beside him, go and open the laser network wall. Don't be invisible, so that those brainless people won't know what's going on. Gu Ming just jumped up and down. On the roof of the car, a transparent and faint white light covered them. Xiao Dongyang looked at this layer of pale white light in shock. Chapter 77. What about feeding carrots? Mu Zicheng said to Xiao Dongyang with the laser protection net, you don't need to be on duty at night. You tell the others to sleep peacefully and gather at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Xiao Dongyang couldn't believe it, but Mu Zicheng said coldly, judging him, this is an order. Xiao Dongyang immediately stood up straight and saluted the county, yes, Chief Mu. Then he turned around and walked towards the tent. But he still felt that it was too dangerous for no one to keep watch at night, and he even thought about having someone keep watch secretly. But just before Xiao Dongyang took action, he saw a huge mouse trying to run into the camp, but turned into ashes beside the laser protective net. Only then did he completely let go of his thoughts and let everyone sleep to refresh themselves. Bai Xinzi took an apple and wanted to give it to Mu Zicheng. This was taken out of the ice storage at the southern border base. Before the end of the world, the southern border base would stockpile a large amount of food, including some fruits that are easy to harvest for a long time. In order to keep the energy of the fruit for a longer period of time, the fruit is frozen until it becomes hard, and it is thawed in advance when eating. But they have been out for a few days and the fruit is long gone. Bai Xinzi was reluctant to eat, and just walked a few steps towards Mu Zicheng, when she saw Wei Ran coming out of the shower to look for Mu Zicheng. Mu Zicheng waved to her. Wei Ran sat down, and Mu Zicheng fed the fruit on the table into her mouth. Bai Xinji's entire face was gloomy. She pressed her lips tightly, squeezed the apple in her hand, and returned to her tent with a cold snort. Mu Zicheng waited for Wei Ran to finish eating, and then fed a piece of it in order not to make people suspicious. I can only eat some fruits that are the same as those in the southern border freezer when I go outside, and then I can eat other fresh fruits when I go back. Wei Ran put his chin on his strong arm, chewed the fruit in his mouth, and muttered, anything is good, as long as it is fed by brother, it is the best. Mu Zicheng heard Wei Ran at this sentence. I smiled for a moment. Her fingers gently pushed her bangs on her forehead to tease her. Then what about feeding carrots? Wei Ran suddenly felt bitter. Her eyes blinked pitifully. I love so much and only love my brother. How can I be willing? Well, woo-ha. Filled with joy, he stuffed another piece of apple into her small mouth, pinched her small jaw with his slender fingers and shook it slightly. I just fell into your hands, come on. Wei Ran leaned on Mu Zicheng and raised her fair face. Xiao Liuo smiled sweetly and giggled. The next day, Xiao Dongyang appeared in front of Mu Zicheng on time at 8 o'clock. Mr. Mu, everyone is ready. Mu Zicheng said indifferently, and then pointed to the satellite map of the North District. Cold and low the voice said, the plan for the North Zone, we enter from the right side of the North Zone, where there are relatively few zombies. Don't disperse after entering and you can't leave the team without my order. Remember, there are a lot of zombies, so you must absolutely guarantee your physical strength function comes first, and there is no need to be obsessed with using abilities. When encountering zombies, try not to attack alone. Try to gather them together as much as possible, and then use bombs to blow them up, or use abilities to attack. Xiao Dongyang listened. He nodded at Mu Zicheng's words and then said with a puzzled face, how many zombies are there in the North District, so that the base actually doesn't want to go? Mu Zicheng said quietly, not many, one more than 10,000. 10,000? Xiao Dongyang raised his voice and shouted. Jiang Nanfeng was taken aback by his sudden sound. Why did you react so strongly? How many times have you met before? Xiao Dongyang lowered his head and thought for a while and said, At most it was about 5 or 6,000, but at that time we had hundreds of people on missions together. Wei Ran loaded the pistol with a click and put it on his lap to fix it, looking at Xiao Dongyang with a chuckle. Then you can experience a real zombie eating chicken game this time. Xiao Dongyang was surprised to see Wei Ran sorting out his weapons and equipment, and subconsciously asked Miss Wei is going too. Don't you need to stay behind with Bai Xinzi? Wei Ran stagnated and tidied up in an orderly manner, looking up at him quietly. Xiao Dongyang was startled by Wei Ran's look, and recalled the scene of her pointing a gun at the entrance of Huaxia Hospital, and quickly explained, I definitely didn't mean that, I. At this moment she giggled up. Chen Wei. Couldn't help but said to Xiao Dongyang, with Brother Cheng here you don't have to worry about her. Besides, when she becomes ruthless, you may not be as good as her. On Ran's back, when Chen Wei said that she was fierce, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. He liked her ruthlessness very much. But Xiao Dongyang was afraid that he would say the wrong thing again, so he immediately turned back and got ready. Half an hour later, Mu Zicheng and his party came to the North District. This area used to be a commercial area, and because it is the most populated and concentrated, it was also the hardest hit. They parked the car not far to the right of the North District, and did not intend to drive in, so as not to alarm all the zombies. Xiao Dongyang waited in front of the RV with people, and Gu Ming got out of the car first, followed by the stern Mu Zicheng in a black suit. After getting out of the car, he turned slightly sideways and stretched out his hand, revealing the equipment bag on his broad and reliable back and the assault rifle hanging at a slant at will. A soft white hand was placed in his warm palm, helping him get off the car. Bai Xinzi came up at this moment, with a kind smile on her face, and said, Mr. Mu, MS, Wei, please come with me here for logistics, I will take good care of her. Xiao Dongyang took a step forward and said to Bai Xinzi, Bai Xia Wei, Miss Wei asked us to go in together. Bai Xinji's face showed surprise, but doesn't Miss Wei have supernatural powers? Isn't it dangerous inside? After she returned to the base, the power her father used was extremely powerful. I also used a superpower growth liquid a few days ago, and the power has also increased from the previous level of 20 to more than 30. This time it was her father who insisted that Sheng Wanling put her in this operation, saying that it was for logistics, but in fact it was just a virtual walk, let alone touch anything dangerous. It was so that, after returning from this mission, she could use this military exploit to enter the base management. But Wei Ran went in to kill zombies despite having nothing, so what would Mu Zicheng think of her if she was still here? Bai Xinzi didn't even think about the danger in the North District at this moment. She was only thinking about whether Mu Zicheng would leave a bad impression on her, so she immediately said to Mu Zicheng, Mr. Mu, then I'll go in together too. I have supernatural powers, so I can help. Mu Zicheng just gave her a cold look, pulled Wei Ran past her, and walked towards the North District. Bai Xinzi still wanted to catch up, but was stopped by Xiao Dongyang. Lieutenant Bai, I hope you will follow the arrangement and stay in the logistics, stay in the armored vehicle, and don't come out until we come back to meet you. She was still thinking about what to say. Xiao Dongyang, however, followed Mu Zicheng and the others with everyone's quick steps. Chapter 78. Mu Zicheng. The intelligence laboratory in the North District entered slowly from the right side of the North District. A group of people walked aside and met a small group of zombies rushing towards them at the corner. Jiang Nanfeng and the others directly fired at the vital points with the assault rifles that had been equipped with silencers. Now Mu Zicheng no longer reminds them all the time, because the few of them can also sense the danger approaching. There are small groups of zombies here from time to time, and there is no way to get scattered like this. They can only kill a group when they see a group. When he was about to pass by a commercial street, he heard a series of rustling sounds, as well as various low-pitched hissing sounds. Gu Ming poked his head out against the wall, then shrank back immediately, turned his head and said to Mu Zicheng, this whole street is full of zombies wandering around. Mu Zicheng turned his eyes coldly, calmly throw away, give them a taste of 2 bombs. Gu Ming then took out a light T2 bomb. This kind of bomb is similar to the structure of a grenade, and it can explode when you pull the safety ring and throw it out, but the explosion range and damage are more than 10 times stronger than the grenade. Mu Zicheng turned to Xiao Dongyang and said, "Take 2 people and follow Su Yi to lure them then." He said only 2 words to Su Yi fried head. But Su Yi already understood Mu Zicheng's intentions. Accept the meaning. This is to lure the zombies to move around, and then the whole group of zombies moves closer. He is in charge of the first half, while Gu Ming is in charge of the exposed second half. Although Xiao Dongyang didn't understand what it meant, he still obeyed the order and nodded, and quickly ran out with 2 people, and Su Yi out of the zombies exposed in the commercial street. For a while, not only the zombies in the commercial street stirred up, but also some zombies from the next door came over and chased Su Yi and Xiao Dongyang stiffly and quickly. After Su Yi ran for a while, he saw that the second half was basically within Gu Ming's range, and he also took out a light T2 bomb, pulled the safety button, and Xiao Dongyang disappeared from Su Yi. But they came back in the next second, and just a moment later, Xiao Dongyang and the others returned to Mu Zicheng's side. Xiao Dongyang and the others were still in a daze for a while. "Isn't it a temptation? Why did you come back again?" At the same time, Gu Ming also pulled out the light T2 bomb in his hand and threw it into the group of zombies in the second half. A silver light appeared, followed by 2 explosions 3 seconds later. The commercial street is full of broken corpses and limbs. Some zombies in the middle have had their hands or feet blown off, or their stomachs have been blown out, and they are still walking numbly with their internal organs hanging on them. Mu Zicheng, Wei Ran, and everyone else went out, raised their assault rifles with both hands, and directly aimed at the vitals, beating the rest of the zombies to pieces, turning them into a mess. After they killed the zombies in the commercial street, they went straight out of the commercial street and walked further inside. When passing through the lobby of an office building, I encountered a group of thousands of zombies. Mu Zicheng shot the zombies back for a while, and noticed a staircase behind him with cold eyes and opened his lips lightly go upstairs. Gu Ming planted a bomb on the stairs. After everyone went upstairs, Mu Zicheng called out the barrier to block a large wave of zombies at the stairs first. Then, under the leadership of Mu Zicheng, they went all the way up the stairs, while Gu Ming placed remote-controlled bombs at intervals in the stairs. They were in the dark stairs, all the way to the fire door on the 5th floor. Only the headlight on the chest illuminates the front. Mu Zicheng retracted the barrier, and immediately after that, he heard the chaotic footsteps of the zombies scrambling up the stairs. When Gu Ming saw through the gap in the fire door that the zombies in front of him were about to reach the stairwell on the 5th floor, he retreated to a safe distance to show others that he was about to press the button and explode. Mu Zicheng pulled Wei Ran behind a wall and pushed her back to protect her. The others should also find cover. Gu Ming immediately pressed the remote control, and the sound of explosions resounded throughout the building, as if the building was about to shake twice. Gu Ming looked at the broken fire door with a gun in his hand, then turned to Mu Zicheng and said, "The stairs going down have been blown off, now we can only go up." Mu Zicheng nodded. After changing the magazine of the assault rifle Lu Shui Xingyin calmly, he pointed at the top with his thin chin, then continued to go up. Gu Ming and Zhang Nanfeng took the lead, and Xiao Dongyang and others followed behind. All the way to the 9th floor, Mu Zicheng and the others had already reached the 10th floor, and the last 2 of Xiao Dongsu's group had reached the 9th floor. The 2 of them thought it was safe because the people in front had already passed the 9th floor, so they turned their backs directly to the fire door on the 9th floor. Suddenly, the fire door on the 9th floor was suddenly pushed open, and several zombies were about to rush in. The last 2 didn't have time to react, and the person in front of them didn't turn around immediately. Just when the zombie was about to bite those 2 people, when the 2 people watched the zombie just a hair away from them, and when they cried in their hearts that it was going to be over, a silver light barrier opened wide, and the zombies were bounced away with a few thud, thud, thud. Xiao Dongyang and his team set up guns and killed those zombies. Then he sternly shouted at those 2 people, "Where is this place? Such low-level mistakes are made. Next, cheer me up." The two men didn't dare to take it lightly, straightened their bodies, and quickly replied yes. Xiao Dongyang looked up at Mu Zicheng's tall figure who had already reached the 10th floor. Mu Zicheng should have known that there were zombies on the 9th floor, but he didn't tell them, but he protected them at the last moment. He knew that Mu Zicheng was warning them. Don't think that with him, Mu Zicheng, they can be fearless, their fate is in their own hands, and they must always be vigilant. Mu Zicheng is always such an activist. He will never talk to you about theoretical nonsense, but he will use practical actions to teach you what you should keep in mind. When he reached the 10th floor, Mu Zicheng stopped in his tracks, tilted his head slightly, and slowly turned his dark eyes to the fire door on the 10th floor. Wei Ran looked at Mu Zicheng suspiciously and asked, "Brother, what's the matter?" "Deserted." The inside was messy, with blood splatters on the walls, blackened blood stains on the carpet on the floor, and limbs that had turned into bones. Obviously, no one in this company should be spared. Mu Zicheng turned his head slightly and said to Gu Ming and Xiao Dongyang, "You stay outside to guard those people." Nodded. Gu Ming understood what Mu Zicheng meant, so they dispersed without Xiao Dongyang and the others noticing, but in fact Jiang Nanfeng and the others stood guard at the innermost position. Chapter 79. Let's stop the noise now. Mu Zicheng took Wei Ran directly to the innermost office and opened the door, only to see that this is a very ordinary office, nothing unusual or special. He narrowed his eyes slightly, as if he was listening to something. Wei Ran was behind him and didn't bother him. Then he walked to the 2-meter-high closet behind the desk with long legs and turned every decoration in the closet. When turning a very ordinary decoration, the wall cabinet behind the desk was separated from the middle and opened slowly. There is actually a laboratory full of machines and instruments inside. AI Lai reminded again that there has been no feedback data for 7 months, which will seriously affect the accuracy of the experiment. A female voice inside said mechanically, and then added a sentence. Extension. There are outsiders intruding, it's dangerous. Wei Ran walked in and looked around, exclaiming, "This is a super-intelligent laboratory." Mu Zicheng continued to walk inside to a room that needs to be unlocked by a living body in front of the specially made heavy metal door, but he directly used the control of consciousness to crush the door and smash it. He only heard this mechanical female voice outside before, but the power here has been out of power for at least 6 months. He was curious about what supported it, and it was still not turned off, and even more curious about what data it said. And when he looked inside, his expression froze slightly, and then the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. This is not just a laboratory, it should also be a research institute for various weapons. Hearing this, Wei Ran was stunned. She approached slowly and looked through the special heavy metal door that had been destroyed by Mu Zicheng. The side behind the door was revealed bit by bit in her eyes, and shock slowly appeared on her face. From this floor up, the entire building is hollow, and the upper floors are all built with steel structures. The surrounding area is full of equipment for researching weapons. There is a bulletproof glass room in the middle with a row of consoles, and there are 6 or 7 large monitors showing the comparison of different data. And there is an elevator on the right side of Mu Zicheng. Mu Zicheng and Wei Ran took the elevator to the above floors. Only 2 to 5 layers neatly arranged have created a new type of laser weapon. But other floors are empty. Mu Zicheng stroked Wei Ran's back. "Put away these weapons first." Wei Ran nodded. After storing the weapons, Mu Zicheng and Wei Ran returned to the console on the first floor. Mu Zicheng slightly raised his head and looked at the screen above the console to record the time and data, probably already aware of the situation. This is the latest secret weapon research institute built before the end of the world in Huaguo. Huaguo has never had its own laser weapons because of the lack of core data analysis of advanced weapons. The first batch of laser weapons here has just been produced. You will encounter the end of the world before you can deliver it in time. By hiding the Weapon Research Institute secretly in the bustling market, and using a trade import and export company as a cover, it is possible to secretly collect all kinds of required manufacturing materials abroad without arousing suspicion. As for where the core data for making new weapons comes from, it should be sent back by intelligence personnel. Wei Ran thought for a while and then asked Mu Zicheng there should be a raw material warehouse here. Mu Zicheng then turned his eyes to look through the bulletproof glass to the innermost part, where there is a very hidden entrance, and said faintly there. Wei Ran exclaimed after entering. It was already far beyond the capacity of the warehouse. Rows of elevated shelves are neatly classified into varieties, and the venue is so large that transportation tools are needed. After that, Wei Ran also collected everything in the big warehouse into the storage space, and it became empty, and every word he said echoed several times. After leaving the warehouse, the smart system outside is still alarming. Mu Zicheng checked the equipment here so that it can be moved quickly if there is a need to transfer. So they are not fixed, so he asked Wei Ran to simply put all the equipment here and study it carefully when he goes back. Wei Ran then emptied the entire laboratory and research institute, leaving nothing behind. After Mu Zicheng and Wei Ran came out, they closed the office door again. A group of people then went up. Because the building has 3 consecutive stairs broken on the 9th floor, even if the sound of the explosion attracts a larger group of zombies, they still can't go upstairs. It's just that the broken stairs gather, and the building is safe for the time being. The low hiss of the zombies downstairs was heard, and Xiao Dongyang glanced down. Zombies were densely crowded on the broken ladder, and zombies kept falling from the broken ladder, and new zombies came up again, and it was like this endlessly. Mu Zicheng led them directly to the top floor of the 20th floor. Wei Ran frowned impatiently. It's too noisy. Mu Zicheng looked down at Wang's pieces with a cold face, took out 7 or 8 remote control bombs from the equipment bag and tied them together. Then one arm was casually supported on the half-waist fence, and the other bony hand held the bomb and stretched out. Wei Ran and Chen Wei also leaned against the fence. Suddenly, Mu Zicheng's palm tilted, and the bomb fell vertically and was submerged in the crowd of zombies below. He tilted his head and looked sideways, his eyes turned to the stairs. The zombies below were all crowded to the broken ladder, but now it seems that more and more are pouring out. The low hiss of the zombies was very clear at the top of the stairs, but now it becomes blurred. Bang 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 with several explosions. The zombies underneath turned into pieces of stumped limbs and shattered all over the ground. But there are too many zombies. This only blows up half, and the remaining half is still ready to move. At this time, Mu Zicheng's outstretched palm was slightly bent and slowly retracted. Xiao Dongyang and his party have very good eyesight, which is one of the must-haves for county residents. They saw that the zombies below, whether they were walking, moving on the ground, or had already become pieces of broken flesh, began to gather rapidly again at this time. Bang bang bang, another continuous explosion. The zombies below exploded into pieces, and none survived. Xiao Dongyang and his group looked at Mu Zicheng in shock. The hissing of the zombies in the broken ladder just gradually stopped, and people with supernatural powers understood that it was Mu Zicheng who used his spiritual thoughts to control the zombies to gather together. Especially Xiao Dongyang, he has been paying attention to Mu Zicheng. This time he clearly did not see anything related to Mu Zicheng or any of them throwing bombs. But this explosion was worse than the previous one. There was a concentrated explosion before, but the number was too large, and there would still be zombies surviving on the periphery. But this time, no matter where the zombies were located, they were blown to pieces. He had heard that Mu Zicheng could easily control more than 300 zombies with his mind and wipe them out. But what I heard was what I heard, and it was far less shocking than seeing it with my own eyes. Including the people brought by Xiao Dongyang, they dare not have any more objections, such as why Mu Zicheng can surpass Xiao Dongyang and lead the team. Because there are nearly 2,000 zombies in the latter half. It's quieter now. Mu Zicheng stretched out his hand and hugged Wei Ran tightly, lowered his head and raised his eyebrows. It's not arguing now, is it? Wei Ran secretly covered his mouth and smiled with his head down. It's okay. Xiao Dongyang was dumbfounded. Dare not because he saw the zombies wanting to be killed, but only because those zombies made Wei Ran so noisy that they were broken into pieces. Jiang Nanfeng, who has long been used to this high-quality dog food, patted Xiao Dongyang on the shoulder. Just watch it a few times. Just remember, you can't offend this little aunt if you offend anyone. Xiao Dongyang and his group agree a little bit head. Because this building was chosen as a weapons research institute, there is still a certain distance between other buildings and it is not as close as other buildings. Now that it was getting late, Mu Zicheng decided to spend the night directly on the roof of the building.